Hey y'all, this is TCA Gaming, and in this video I'm going to show you a few things, but for the most part I'm actually going to go over a little bit of history on some items that are going up for consignment. That'll be kind of a cool time to go over them, because normally I just cover English stuff in the videos, but I'm going to go over a little bit of the history of these Japanese items, and they have been covered many times by other channels, and I'm by no means an expert, but I thought it'd be kind of cool to talk about them a little bit, since we do have some coming up. But the first thing I want to show you guys is this right here. This is actually running through consignment, finishing up tonight. The consignment was a little concerned that I did scans instead of taking 3D pictures, so I thought that I would just give a little bit extra advertisement for it and show it to you guys here on the channel. I think these typically run between, the last few sales that I saw happen at the end of last year, they were between $1,500 and $1,900. There's a few up for sale like at $2,000 right now on eBay. I would expect in an auction probably in the $1,200 range. That's what I would think, especially since the market's come down a little bit since that time, but it may go a little higher. I'm not really sure what to expect. This one is in great condition. I think I saw it was about $800 some at the moment. And I'll let you guys see it a little bit better. This way, if anybody does ask questions on my eBay, I can kind of send them this way, let them see a little bit more. I can send exact pictures and stuff, but overall it's really nice. You have the poncho wearing Pikachu, and he has the Rayquaza, poncho on him. They've got different ones. You got the two Charizards, and I think you can actually see one of those right there. And I think there's like a Gyarados and some other ones like that. But they're getting pretty rare to find these in the sealed boxes. This is a Pokemon Center exclusive, and we definitely didn't see it here in America. But anyways, I did want to just bring that up, and I'll put a link down there in the description if you're interested in something like that. We got some other stuff ending as well, like normal. But just in case, I wanted to make you guys a little bit more aware of that item, because I didn't really go over it. I think I just kind of flashed through it before. What I want to show you guys next, I've got a note for. It says, Rusty, thank you for all you do for the Pokemon community. As hard as it is for me to let these beautiful, unique cards go, the money will be going to mine and my fiance's future, so thank you. I'd love it if you could explain what you know about the history of these cards, as I'm sure a lot of people don't really know about fan club promos. I hope these cards find a good home, and thank you again for your consignment service. Marcus IG Pokestack. So I think he was a little bit on the fence about sending them in, but I'm running that special right now where anything that auctions off for over $5,000 actually drops down to 10%. And then I worked a little bit of a deal with him, just in case because some of these might be on the cusp, between 3 and 5. And one of them should, I would think, get over 5,000. But we'll see where the auctions go. You never know with that kind of stuff. But I'm going to show them to you right here. We have the Fan Club Eevee and the Fan Club Porygon. So as again I stated in the beginning of this video, I'm not an expert on this stuff. However, I've gathered information here and there over the decade, or over a decade, just from being in the hobby. So I do know some of the information on it. Of course, if any of you guys want to fact check me, go right ahead. But we're going to talk about them a little bit, because these are beautiful cards, and you don't really see them that much. However, they're not extremely rare. I think for the most part, we don't really know the distribution numbers of these cards. I think it's pretty much accepted. It's more than 1,000. It's probably more than 10,000. You don't see that many copies of this for sure, but I think it's highly unlikely that it's more than 100,000. And just to give you an idea, it's speculated the first edition base set Charizard, 10,000, maybe more, maybe less. We don't really know. It's hard to know distribution of this kind of stuff, but it wasn't terribly hard to get these cards. However, it was exclusively, I believe, during the year 2000, around from April to December. So you had like a 8 month period window or whatever that you could earn points toward this kind of thing. However, a lot of those points that you could build up to get to it, you can see right here, this is the 500 point fan club, that's the 700 point fan club. I think you could actually earn points starting in 1999. A lot of the stuff that was issued that was lower tier for Pokemon, I believe they were like these oversized type postcards, but they had really cool artwork, and they were almost shaped like a card on one side, and some of those were redeemable for 100 points or 200 points. I think the first one was maybe a tropical present. There was a few different ones, like 4 or 5, I believe. The hardest one to get was that last one that looks like a Gyarados spitting out a 2,000 attack or whatever, and there's a Charizard above it, and they always have like blocky clay doll CGI type thing going on with some of the pictures. I mean, a lot of the artwork is really nice, but of course they weren't the actual cards. And the fan club, I believe, had 3 cards. There was Eevee, I believe it was a Shining Magikarp between the two at 600 points, and then you had the Porygon at 700. Now, for me, I would be wanting to redeem in at that Eevee, but I think a lot of people just, if you'd already built up to 500 points, like, you know what, let's just go ahead and get the best one, and they built up. And that's why we actually see a few more of the Porygon in the population report through PSA. I believe the Eevee is around like the 180 or so graded. I would think that if you had this card, you graded it, you know, by this point. Maybe not back then. And then the Porygon, we actually see over 200 of those graded, and both of them have about a 60-some population in PSA 10. So they're not super hard to grade. They're not super easy. I'm not completely sure on the Shining Magikarp. I believe that one has more issues with like the centering on it. I don't know too much about it, but it does vary from the Shining Magikarp within Neo Revelation. The Shining Magikarp that you see that's for the fan club, like, it's for 600 points. It's more like the Neo Destiny hollows. It's got like the texture foil just like on the Pokemon instead of the whole card being hollow like the one from Neo Rev, and then it's got like a triple star thing. You can see right here, it actually says get right there, G-E-T. And the way you earn points to get these things, I believe you just like attended official events or you battled in a Pokemon League or something like that, and you had to earn a certain amount of points, and then eventually, I assume you just, I'm not sure if you mailed in or how you really redeemed those points and got the cards. I'm not sure of that process, but that's how you would earn those points, and you know, you had a limited amount of time where you could do that. And you know, a lot of people, you know, they really like these artworks because, you know, there's more going on here other than just, you know, exclusive art, or I assume they're exclusive. I don't know of other reprints for these. I know the Shining Magikarp, of course, it does have other prints, both English and Japanese. But like, look at the Eevee. I don't know if you can make it out. You can actually see an outline of the Eevee for the Jolteon, the Flareon, and the Vaporeon. That's more like a pinkish than a red, but still, you know, it's pretty cool the way it's hitting off on all 3 of those colors there in the background. And it's not a Flareon. It looks like it's just an imprint of that same Eevee back over to it. So that kind of just adds to the artwork, I believe, and people really, you know, kind of like that about the fan club Eevee. And then you've got the Porygon over here, which if I remember correctly, Scott actually talked about these a while back, SM Pratt, and I didn't connect it, but in the games you had the red and the blue, and so even though it kind of looks purple, I think this was, you know, a connection back to the game where if you went into the, like, and you played the slot machines and you earned enough points, I believe you could redeem those points for a Porygon. And so like you've got the same thing going on here, like that's the red, this version blue, and then this was actually the highest prize that you could get from the fan club during this period. So you could redeem 700 points and get the Porygon. So that was kind of cool the way that they tied that kind of stuff in together. And you know, some of this other information, you know, I kind of pulled from Bulbapedia just to kind of cross-check some of the information, but I don't know a ton about it. Like I said, the exact numbers and print distribution, you know, if there's 10,000 of these out there, they haven't showed up, you know, I would just assume that you're always probably going to be able to find a copy of these out there in the wild somewhere. You're probably going to be able to find a copy somewhere on eBay, and but you're not going to find, they're not going to be all over the place, like super saturating the market, because there's the demand for them, and you know, they were pretty exclusive. You know, there are certain promos that, you know, just aren't exclusive, and I brought in one just to give you guys an idea. Like this right here, this is one that I have a ton of, like thousands. You know, this is the Mew promo from the original league, the very first English Mew that you could get, the number 8 non-hollows, the cheapest one that you can find. I'm selling this right here, PSA 10, $59.99 on eBay. You know, it sells very regularly, probably 1 or 2 a day, just continues to go through. Eventually I run out again, the prices go back up. But the reason this one dropped down from like $200, $250 or so to $60 so quickly is because so many people have these. Like, there are people out there with hordes, you know, of these things, 100 of them, 200, 500, 1,000. Usually when I buy promos, you know, this is one that's always included in there, and I'll pick it up for a cheap price and then I'll just add it to the stack. You know, who knows if I'll ever get through all of them. But the reason that people like buying these is because a lot of people connect back to their childhood playing, remembering getting this Mew from Toys R Us or whatever, and so a lot of people like this card, and they're okay spending $50 for a gem mint copy, you know, of the original non-holographic Mew, the very first one that you could get on the English side. And I think a lot of people connect to these too. And then you compound that on top of the fact that the artwork is unique. It has a story to it connecting to the game or to the evolutions, or the fact that it is it is much harder to find than something like this. And that's the reason there's a huge price difference in something like this versus something like this. And both of these are actually going through auction. So if you are looking for them, who knows? I think the last couple of auctions that I've seen, it's been a while back, so I don't know what to expect completely out of them. Hopefully this one will bring at least the $5,000 mark. If it doesn't, it doesn't. This one I think could be anywhere between the 3 and 5, even though it's at the 700 point versus the 500 point. It looks like more of these have been graded, and maybe back in the day that the reason being not because you would have an Eevee, for every Porygon, but because, once people got to the 500 point mark, they're like, what, I'll just save up a couple hundred more points and redeem for the Porygon. So maybe there are less Eevees. I mean, it's really hard to tell. There aren't numbers out there exactly for everything. And then you've got the Shining Magikarp in between as well. So maybe they wanted the Shining Magikarp, so, people skipped over the Eevee at the time. Eevee wasn't always, the chase Pokemon that you want to have, between Porygon and Eevee. Things change over the years. It's kind of cool how to see that kind of stuff mold and, continue through. But it was the very first card, that you could redeem from this Get stuff. So maybe people who didn't want some of those oversized promos, they went ahead, and there are a number of them out there. There's a lot of speculation and trying to figure out the numbers. The best thing I can tell you to do is, just get an idea of what is out there. Go out there, see. Go look at how many times these cards move, how many times they sell through auction. Is it a regular thing? And the more sales you see, a lot of times the more confident you can be in the price. And I think usually we actually see more of the Eevee moving through, which sometimes can bolster who's collecting it, why people are willing to pay more for the Eevee rather than the Porygon. There's so many factors that can play into something like that. But if you are interested, again, they are on my eBay. And if you just want to watch and gather knowledge about certain cards like this, that's what I love about doing consignments. When you guys send in cards like this, I've never sold a PSA 10 copy of either one of these cards. Now I'm going to add to my tool belt and have a little bit more knowledge about them because I researched the cards. That's what you'd asked me to do right there. So that's something cool that I got to gain a little bit more history of, and I know about the cards that preceded it, and then I know that Porygon was the end of the fan club Get point redemption, and then you had the Daisuke fan club. That was something completely different. I always thought all that stuff was kind of wrapped in together, because I think one of them's like 50,000 or whatever it says on the PSA label, which might not even be true. I was like, man, how could you get all the way to 50,000 if these were being redeemed at 500? So I don't even know about that one, but I found out through the process of this that it was actually a separate process, and it's very cool to see that kind of stuff. So if you guys are interested in consignment, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to sell unique items, and maybe we can do some more history lessons like this one. And for those of you who are looking for me to open up product or see what I bought, I'm sorry that I didn't bring too much variety into this video, but I do appreciate your attention and being able to make it to the end of this video. Thanks.